Hotel Transylvania, Transformania. Couldn't even bother putting a 4 in there, let alone release it in theaters like they said they would.
The only place to experience Transformania is in a movie theater.
Now, despite me going in depth towards the first 3 movies in some way, shape, or form, I never really gave this a proper treatment. Sure, I made that initial review and even talked about it on my podcast, but I only scratched the surface in terms of how horrible it actually is. But I don't despise this movie just for what it is, but I also hate that Sony decided to release this now. You see, back between the mid-2000s and late 2010s, Sony Animation has always been one of the lesser animation studios. For every Surfsub and Armin collaboration, there's always something like the Smurfs, the Emoji Movie, or most of the sequels to actually good movies.
I like milk. And fish. I just wish you could milk a fish.
Oh, ew, 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 ew.
So for a while, it seemed like Sony would have continued scraping the bottom of the barrel. But then a little miracle came on Christmas 2018. A little movie that we all know and love as... Yep, out of nowhere, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came in and blew everyone's minds with its stunning animation, stellar action, and compelling characters, receiving critical acclaim, box office success, and even the studio's first Oscar for an animated feature. And this paved the way for other artistically put together movies from Sony, such as Mrs. vs. Machines, and more recently, K-pop Demon Hunters. So release a 4th Hotel Transylvania movie in the midst of the golden age just kinda makes it stick out like a sore thumb, especially since there's really no need for it. The first movie was about Dracula learning to forgive humanity after a human came into his life and showed him the modern way. The second movie was about Dracula and company finding like balance of raising a half-human child so that he would come of age as naturally as possible. And the third movie was about him moving on from the death of his wife by finding new love while at the same time reconciling with his centuries-long arch-nemesis. So to put it in perspective, the characters and themes were wrapped up sloppily, but well enough by the third movie. But I guess Sony wanted to give this one last hurrah with this admittedly cool enough concept on Johnny becoming a monster. May delve into some compelling themes about how can he become the perfect family man if his wife and kid are comparatively immortal. How can he keep himself safe and alive, at least until Dennis is able to grow up? And how will becoming a monster affect him both emotionally and through a relationship with his friends and family? But apparently Sony said, screw all that potentially compelling storytelling, let's just make the worst possible installment we possibly can, because that's what fans want, right? So as you can imagine, I am not looking forward to revisiting this stinker after years of pretending it doesn't exist. And I'm sure you're not either. So to help get through this, I've invented the Transformania drinking game. Take a shot for every continuity error, character assassination, or tacked on repeat from the rest of the franchise. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at how this movie bastardized the entire franchise.
I see the crystal raindrops fall.
And I hate it already. Not even 15 seconds past the credits, and already this is looking like a Cannes winner.
That's an Academy record.
First of all, you notice how hastily this gets to this pop music like it's some kind of musical? Which it's not. Hell, actual musicals give us more space to breathe before he starts singing. Second, the animation looks even worse than the last one. While I said the last one looked a little too cartoony for my taste, this one legit looks like one of those DreamWorks spin-off shows you see on television. I keep expecting Marceline the Odd to pop up or Megamind to neglect use of the dehydration gut for the 80th time. Third, you can clearly tell that Adam Sandler didn't come back to voice Dracula, and instead they got violent impressionist Brian Holt to replace him. And frankly, he's not even that bad when he does it in one of his YouTube videos. But in an official sequel to the HT franchise, he just kinda sticks out.
I have personally designed a spectacular schedule of events.
Now it's time to start the actual planned part of the celebration.
So yeah, the story hasn't even started and already has got 3 strikes against it. But I suppose it could be worse. I mean, we haven't met Johnny and he always knows how to lighten these up.
Just the 3 of us. We can make it if we try. Just the 3 of us. You and I.
Okay, let's just take our first shot here, shall we? What did they do to you, Johnny? I mean, in the previous movies, you did have your doofus moments, but you were mostly a chill dude, so it's easy to see why people would want to hang out with you. Here, you're everything that people who hate you think you are. This oh-so-random, oh-so-wacky sidekick that everyone, including myself, would easily issue a restraining order on you just to feel safe. You practically turned into Patrick Star in the worst episode of SpongeBob. Okay, so our main story starts with the hotel having this massive party until random shenanigans coming to wreck everything. Oh, wait, that was the opening to the third movie, my mistake. So our main story starts with the hotel having this massive party until random shenanigans coming to wreck everything. Sorry, I got these two confused. Let's just take a shot for no reason at all. Ugh. Okay, besides the animation looking somehow worse when it all becomes neon, this whole scene is just one big jingling the keys moment for dumb little kids. And it just goes on and... Okay, can someone put a stop to this, please? Thank you.
Dad?
All right. Can't freeze other vampires.
Even though you clearly couldn't the second one. I think this calls for another shot. So it looks like the main conflict of this movie is Dracula having a hard time getting used to Johnny. Let me repeat that. Dracula, in spite of spending the first movie getting to know Johnny and learning to allow him to have a relationship with Mavis, to the point of letting them getting married and having a kid in the second one, and even helping Johnny defeat the giant Kraken in the third one, is now having a hard time getting used to him. Wasn't that like the entire theme of the entire franchise? Ever since the death of his wife in human hands, Dracula has spent over a century hiding his daughter and friends away from them in hopes that they would be safe. By which Johnny stumbling into this hotel and showing them the modern way of life, they finally come to consider that humanity has grown past the initial hatred of monsters, climaxing in that iconic scene with the townsfolk helping him reach the airport on time. Thus, for the next few years, he's welcomed Johnny's human family into him and Mavis's wedding, allowed humans to check into his hotel, and even made amends with his greatest enemy. So to have him hate Johnny again just goes against all that development just for the sake of cheap conflict. I mean, seriously, what were these writers thinking? What were these writers thinking? Ugh. You know it's bad when 6 minutes in, I'm already on my fourth shot. Dracula teases a special announcement to the entire crowd before discussing it with his wife Erica.
Johnny is giving me the greatest headache of my entire existence.
French's reaction to Johnny's character assassination somehow made it into this very script.
Well, you're gonna have to get used to things being done a little differently around here when you retire. You retire.
Retire?
Oh hey, the old Mavis grows big ass badass whenever she hears something in the distance, superpower she never had before, and the filmmakers just made it up for the sake of the plot. This looks like a job in another shot. Man, this movie's bad. So she overhears Dracula's plan to retire the hotel and give it to her and Johnny, and wait a minute, Dracula's retiring? Why? The purpose of retirement is to enjoy one's final moments without caring the world before the inevitable death. And I know Dracula is not immortal technically, but he's been living literal centuries and doesn't look a day older. Hell, his own father's been alive for 2,000 years and still as agile as, well, Mel Brooks at 99 years old. In fact, wait a minute. Where is Fly in this whole movie? You'd think he'd be here for such a milestone as the hotel's 125th anniversary, but I guess Sony was too cheap to hire Mel Brooks. Though given they were apparently too cheap to get Adam Sandler, that wouldn't surprise me. Mavis tells the news to her husband.
I guess I just never got the feeling that he really thought of me as part of the family.
I mean, he's only allowed me to marry you, have dinners, and help him save the day from the Macarena bullshit. So because Johnny doesn't know how to shut the hell up, Drac becomes paranoid about what Johnny's going to do to the hotel when he retires, even though technically he already witnessed what he's done to the hotel in the second movie. So he makes up this fake real estate law saying that humans can acquire monster-owned establishments, and then announces to everyone that the big announcement is a bathroom in the lobby. rant about that later. For now, Johnny's gotta figure out how to become a monster in order to get the hotel, even though he really doesn't have to. But he need not worry. He lives in a hotel filled with monsters, so there's literally dozens of opportunities on how he can become a monster. So let's take a guess as to what solution he ultimately goes with. Does he A. ask Dennis to bite his hand, B. have one of the zombie employees bite him, C. get a curse from the mummy, or D. get into some freak accident and get sewn back together Frankenstein style? Nope, he instead enlists Abraham Van Helsing for help, and okay, I will give this movie some credit. I do like the idea of Van Helsing literally putting all his stuff in storage after giving up the monster hunt, leading to a ton of potential in solid gas, and even how he manipulates his robot body to explore the whole area. I even adopted this sort of idea into my fanfiction universe. There was so much potential. Eventually, Van Helsing finds this monstrification rate to turn humans into monsters and vice versa, and hold up. You mean to tell me he had a device to turn monsters into humans all along? Then why did he spend decades of research to find Atlantis and the evil music scroll then? He literally lost most of his body trying to find a place when he could have just shot Drac and the other monsters to humans and eradicated his problem in 2 minutes. This plot is so stupid that I'm gonna take another shot. So after testing it out Chekhov's guinea pig, they finally use it on Johnny, just turning him into...
I'm a monster.
Alright, movie, I'll give it another point. Johnny does look cool as a monster. Johnny's about to find Mavis, but Drac's not too far behind to try to zap him back to normal.
What? I can't believe it. I'm human again!
Huh?
Okay, that was funny. You know, this movie has given me 3 good things to admire in the past 5 minutes. I can't seem to remember why I hate this movie so much.
That was not your father. Just some random monster.
Everything is normal.
And now I remember. Anyone who's familiar with the other movies knows that Drax shouldn't be able to hypnotize other vampires this easily. That deserves another shot. Amidst all the chaos, Drac gets zapped into a human before the race seems to break.
Come on, Donnie. We're getting out of here.
Of course, this wouldn't be a Hotel Transylvania movie without Dracula hiding a secret from Mavis. Silly me, I thought he would have learned his lesson by now. How far are we into this? 25 minutes. This new drinking game's going great. So Van Helsing tells them they have to go all the way to South America to get a new crystal from the Monstrous, and of course they hype up how impossible this whole journey's gonna be, only for them to easily make this journey by the end of the movie. How original. They take the gremlin plane from the last movie to the airport, even though since the plane was most likely not an official aircraft, so they could have just landed right at the cave to pick up the crystal there, but we're here to talk about the big plot hole, so let's just move on. Thus we have to spend 10 to 15 minutes just watching Johnny enjoying the Amazon jungle and Dracula getting her as a human. It's stupid, overlong, unfunny, and downgrades the 2 main characters for the sake of one drawn-out joke, but... No, there's no but to this. Back at the hotel, this ice statue which got shot by the ray starts to melt as the other monsters start to drink it. Yet again, making the character so stupid as to drink contaminated water just for the sake of the plot. And thus they turn into walking human stereotypes. Mary's become an old man, Griffin's naked, Wayne's become unrecognizable to his kids, Frank's turned into Hanson Squirrel, and Blobby turned into a Jill Apocalypse cameo. You think I'm just narrowing it down for the sake of a review? I'm not. That's all these characters are for the bulk of the movie. All just these lame, unfunny jokes stretched out to an hour and a half.
One minute, 37 seconds later.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to Film Theory, where film sequels don't have to try in order to get Sony a quick buck. You know, have a look at that werewolf kid from the Scooby-Doo cartoon and think she looks like if Wennis and Danny finally grew up and did it. But hey, that's just a theory, a film theory, and... Okay, let's just get back to this. Mabel sees Drac and Johnny on the television and takes Erica's blimp all the way to South America in hopes of getting them back. How are they gonna find them in this thick jungle?
But we're gonna have to take this search to the ground.
Alright, movie. Mavis does look awesome in that black garment. In fact, this entire scene where she gets to the ground and uses her sonic hearing to locate them is pretty cool, to be frank. Guess I'll have to give this movie a 2 out of 10 instead of a 1 out of 10. So they finally catch up to each other and, crap, this scene, just watch it and then I'll get back to you.
Why did you turn yourself into a monster?
Because of the monster real estate law.
I don't understand.
I can explain. Johnny found out that I was giving you guys the hotel. But then he had the Johnny takeover. And so I panicked!
And lied?
Okay, Dracula, if that's who you are anymore. Because you're practically unrecognizable compared to the real Dracula in the other movies. Let me see if I got this perfectly clear. You were about to give your beloved hotel to your daughter and son-in-law, and then after assuming that Johnny would ruin the hotel in their absence, you lied to everyone, thus leading Johnny to risk his life for this modification experiment, which led to your other friends being affected, and the whole celebration to be ruined. John's been kind to you ever since stumbling into your hotel, thus leading you to forgive humanity after your wife's murder and let him marry your only daughter, bringing forth the best grandson anyone could ask for, and give your hotel more business than usual, and you were just gonna throw it all away just for the sake of your own delusions of grandeur. You know what, you're a complete joke. No wonder Anderson will continue anymore, and he'll take anything. I mean, you have turned from a monster from a heart of gold into a ridiculous, immature, half-wit moron. I have never seen a main character turn into a sadder, more attention-starved, jabbering real prick in my entire life, and that says a lot because I've been alive for more than 25 years. And I'll tell you, your daughter was right about one thing. You will never escape your ego. You couldn't even save a relationship with your grandson. And I wish I could say you die alone, but it's one of God's best jokes that you can barely die, except it's on all of us. Oh, you got nothing to say? Count?
Blah, blah, blah.
Let's just wrap this up before I have an aneurysm. Johnny completes his monster transformation and causes a rampage. They find the crystal and fix the way, but the rampage causes the sun to come into the cave. The other shield Mavis as she tries to get closer. I would say it's a creative scene, but it's ultimately pointless as her shopping Johnny does absolute dilly dick. It's not until Drax makes this sappy speech apologizing to Johnny that he finally comes to his senses. This of course is unearned because Drax should have already learned this lesson by now. Regardless, they all live happily ever... Oh yeah, forgot about that thing. No, wait, you forgot to make a sappy speech to him first. So I guess this movie ends on this completely rushed, yet poignant enough note, with Drac handing over the destroyed hotel to his daughter and son-in-law and letting them rebuild it the way they want it. Let's just see how the new hotel turns out.
Open your eyes!
So they just rebuilt it the exact same way, bolts and all. So that tells me that this whole plot thread with the guinea pig destroying the hotel was completely pointless. Drac could have just told his daughter and son-in-law that the hotel was there in that blimp on the way home, and then cut to the scene with them showing them what they did to the place while he was gone, and we would have missed nothing. Which is exactly the perfect metaphor for this sequel. It takes these beloved characters into these bullshit situations, all the while rendering them completely unrecognizable, and it all means nothing at the end. But it's not just that pisses me off. The animation's cheap, the characters are inseparable, the story has a ton of holes in it, and the comedy is more hit than miss. It gets worse the more I think about it, to the point that, just like Hotel Transylvania 2 is The Empire Strikes Back of the series, this is definitely The Rise of Skywalker. And this movie is so bad that it made me neglect to make an Amelia Perez joke for the third HE video in a row. That's a new low.